Hello everyone, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Right. So today, as you can see, my topic is on mobile test automation. And this has been a buzzword in the Bonafide project for like since the end of last year. So we've been studying about it, and it's not like we've done a lot of research, but we thought it will be good and it's appropriate for us to talk about it since I think a couple of new projects are going to start on mobile testing as well. And so a quick walkthrough about what I'm going to talk about. First of all, I'm going to talk about why automate mobile testing. Why do we even bother about it? And then different ways to automate mobile testing, and some focus areas and some tools. Actually, one tool, but I'm going to compare a few and tell you why we should go with that. And best practices if you're hoping to move your manual testing into automated testing in mobile. And the tool I'm going to talk about is called Appium. Well, some say Appium. I'll go with Appium. It's a mobile test automation framework or tool. And why do we even think about automation? So we talk about coded UI. The QA people, they all had a session on coded UI yesterday. So I'm pretty sure Pumi touched on why we should do it and all that. And then we talk about Selenium. And so these are buzzwords, and we are still in the research and inception stage of that when it comes to GVO. So if I ask somebody, why do you think specially for mobile testing, why is it critical to do automated testing? My eyes are on Dilusha, but I'm not going to ask her and put her in trouble. Anybody else? To save time and cost. Well, time is cost at the end. Yeah, so it's about reducing the cost. So like I've mentioned here, to produce high quality, robust and reliable software with ever-growing complexity of technology and under massive competitive pressure. So we talk about, actually for GVO, it's not really applicable in the context because we provide mobile app solutions for another company. But for a company like, I don't know, whoever develop their own mobile applications to market, in the market, so for them it is, the competition is really high. If you try to download a dictionary application, there are so many, right? You don't know which to choose from. So for instance, those kinds of things, it's a very competitive market there, and also the complexity. Now we talk about as for the customers, they want the entire, whatever we do on the web, they want to do it in a mobile app. I'm pretty sure the Bonafide team will talk on behalf of that. So as per our client, he would want the exact same functionality that we've had in the web. Exactly the functionality we've had in the web to come onto the mobile app. So what do we do at the time? How do we deliver? How do we cater to their expectations? So this is the reason, like Sudha correctly said, so to save time and other resources like the manual testing resources, to save all of that, and in order to save the cost that we have to pay, we tend to do automation. And the business benefits looking at it, increased testing efficiency, increased testing effectiveness, and faster time to market. Well, I'm not sure about the first one, increased testing efficiency, because there is a trade-off. When you're talking about QA people doing fully engaged in writing automated scripts here, there is a trade-off with it because it consumes a lot of time. And as for us now, we know that our QA department, our QA people are in the process of learning, not learning per se, like refreshing their memory or their understanding about writing scripts and coding and all that using the Tech Boost sessions. So there is a cost of training, there is a cost of time where people have to fully engage in writing automated scripts, maybe a dedicated team. So those things are there. So but anyways, the effectiveness is really high because it ideally targets at whatever the correct thing we want to do. So that is there, and also the fast time to market. So when we have a package of test scripts, now let's say for instance at the end of maybe 2 or 3 sprints, like 2 sprints, Bonafide, they are going to integrate another component into our main branch, which is an Epic branch. So we are hoping to do a system test. So a system test done manually, I'm pretty sure you all can testify against it. So it's not easy to do it manually. So having a set of test scripts is always good. And it also offers a significant value add by enabling testing to be done in parallel to development. So so these are some of the ways that you can actually automate mobile testing. I'm referring to mobile testing here because if you talk about test automation, it's a huge area and mobile testing itself is huge. So I'll summarize what are the different ways to automate in mobile testing. First way is handwritten test scripts. So if you have awesome QA members who are really good developers and who we call them software engineers in test. So if you have guys like that who can actually put an effort and write all your functionalities into test cases, we can call them unit tests. So if you have someone like that, that's actually the best. And the benefits are it's accurate, it's specific to your testing needs, plenty of options with frameworks and tools, like you can go on and on. You can even write a simple unit test framework using Visual Studio. So the trade-offs are it takes a long time and it ties resources to write test cases, scripts, and also because it is run by humans, there could be errors as well, because we are not talking about a UI here, we are talking about white box kind of testing. And recording and playing back. Well, this is I think largely used inside GView as well. You all automate record and playback scripts for Selenium and coded UI, so it's all there. So I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. It's fast to create and it's accurate, not as sensitive to human errors as handwritten tests, and there are tools available. That's availability. And there are trade-offs as well. Compelling recorder playback tool is available for only few test automation frameworks, and also it's highly UI dependent. So we have gone there, we know there are flaws in that. And automatic test exercises, which is probably what we do using Selenium WebDriver. It's fast and extremely automated and excellent for smoke testing, quick testing availability. And we are not talking about writing test scripts for all of the scenarios, but for the basic ones in order to run a smoke test. That's what they do. So you can have a combination of all of these, or you can have one of these depending on your requirement. And yeah, so if you are hoping to move into mobile test automation, here are a few of the things to focus. Not necessarily into automation, really mobile testing. So these are some of our experiences as well in Bonafide. First and foremost is the user interface and functionality. So the UI attracts you, and that's what you have to focus on. Not the only thing, but you have to focus on it. And UI under that UI layouts and elements, menu structure and functions, screen orientation in the sense if you have written your mobile app to work in the portrait mode and you turn it around, and there are so many times that we have witnessed it that it doesn't necessarily work. And also the resolutions. So we have to, there are so many variations of resolutions we are talking about here. So we use tools for UI testing. We use things like browser stack, or maybe some of the like Google itself has an inbuilt tool to check your resolution, but that doesn't necessarily even imply that your app works. So the best way is to use in real devices. So yeah, and then talking about graphic performance, especially for apps like gaming apps, this is very, very important, how your graphic performance is. And also how your UI would work under lower battery or maybe while it's charging and all of that. And usability and user experience, user interaction and responsiveness, which is very, very important. And also the background events, such as what will happen if you get a call in the middle of the app. So will your app crash and just vanish away? So those are minor things that you have to focus on. How do you get back after a background? If there are background events running, how would your app work? Like, will it be able to hold on given the enough memory? And also multi-user features. That is actually mostly for like gaming applications as well as for bona fide in our application, whereas it's ideally it's targeted for pilots in Australian defense. So those guys there'll be many, so they'll be carrying this mobile app, and they'll be accessing our database, like the same database that the website users. I'm not going to talk about the app or market the app here, but I'm just giving you out of our experiences. And also, so those are the instances for multi-user features, how it should work. Like, so we have something called item check-ins. That means one item could not be, there should be a lock for an item if someone else is using it. So how does these things happen? Yeah, so those kinds of things. And also social integration. If you're thinking about integrating with Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, so all of these user social networks, so we have to think about that as well. And security and liabilities. So yeah, so it's always recommended to go for open source tools. But if you're using third-party tools, you might have to worry about the licensing, etc. And some of the best practices. So if you're hoping to move on to it, plan carefully what you're going to do. So we are still in the very, very early stages of doing this, but we are in the process of, we have identified that it is possible and we can move on with it. So you have to plan carefully what your business components are and what need to be automated, what could be automated, and then during the development, your app changes. So in Agile, you know the UI you have today is not the one you have after 2 sprints. So the one they wanted is taken off in a couple of more sprints. So that happens. So the same thing should happen to your testing framework, your test scripts. So who's going to maintain it? So those things you have to think about. And also selecting a particular technology with a testing framework if you're using it, whether it's really necessary for manual testing, if you want to move into automated testing. And also test coverage and reusability, how to what extent can you reuse your test cases and improve effectiveness, and then finalize soon. After doing all the patches and rubbing it up and polishing it, you have to finalize it soon so that you can really put it out there and take use of it. And so here are some of the mobile test automation frameworks that are in the industry that most people use, and some of them actually I got to know in some of the conferences. I haven't even heard about them before. So after we went there only, we got to know that these things actually people use these things. So I have done a small comparison. Actually, I got this from a resource reference, and so Robotium, UI Automata, Espresso, Appium and Calabash. So if you talk about UI Automate, it's actually integrated with the Android SDK. So that's what they have been using all along. So but some developers really use this as a separate automating tool, but there are limitations which I'll talk about it. I'll show you and I'll talk about it. And also out of these, I'm not going to talk to you about all of these, but there are benefits. So my point is that out of all of these, there should be a generic kind of a tool that we should use, because we are talking about iOS and Android both. So it has to cater to both, and it has to cater to whatever kind of client-side scripts that we are going to write. Whether if it only requires, if it only talks to Java, then it's not going to be very helpful for us. So it has to be a generic kind of tool. So that's why we chose Appium as the particular tool, and I'm going to talk to you about it today. And yes, yeah. So coming to Appium, this is actually by Source Labs, not Source Labs, it's Source Labs. So these guys are the ones who are actually sponsoring it, and the larger amount of development is done by these guys. So so Appium, I'm not sure what it means, but it is an open source tool for automating mobile applications on iOS and Android platforms. So it's open source, and you can really, so you know what it means. So you can, anybody can use it, and even if you want to change things about it, you can do so. And also it supports native, mobile web and hybrid applications all at once. It caters to all these three types, and also it's cross-platform. It writes tests against multiple platforms using the same API. So you will see what I mean here. And they talk about a philosophy, why it's like a marketing strategy that they use. So the philosophy is, firstly, you shouldn't have to compile your app or modify it in any way in order to automate it. So that means like what you guys currently do as developers, because none of us are really doing automated testing for mobile apps. So what you guys do as developers is, you have the mobile application running in your machine, and you will be building and compiling it, and then you will using an emulator or something. So at every point you will have to do a build, right? And from a QA's perspective, sort of building it every time you do a change in a QA's environment is not really going to be helpful, because that's not what the users are doing. So what you can do with Appium is, you can get the bundled APK from your mobile app, and then use it in this Appium third-party tool, and it'll do all the compilation and everything. So it's really platform independent. So you can write your scripts in any language you want. So whichever is comfortable for you and whichever you know. And the next one is, you shouldn't be locked into a specific language or framework to write and run your tests. And a mobile automation framework shouldn't reinvent the wheel when it comes to automation API. So these guys, they don't do any kind of automation, like they haven't reinvented the wheel, they are not doing it, they have outsourced it. They are using the tool I told you, the UI automated tool, for that part. And a mobile automation framework should be open source in spirit as well as the name. So yeah, so it is open source. And briefing about the Appium architecture, it's actually huge. I just summarized it like this, the way that I understood it. And so you'll be writing your test scripts in your client machine, and here's the Appium server. So this would be running in your QA machine as well, in a point of QA perspective. And then as you can see, the device automation as well as manipulation would be done using UI Automator and something called ADB, Android Debugging Bridge, right? Yeah, so you'll be using that, and using when you install Appium, these two come, especially this one will come with the Android SDK, and this one will be come to your machine using Appium when you install Appium itself. So so you don't have to worry about device manipulation. Anything related to clicking your controls, identifying them, you don't have to worry about it. That is with the device automation part. And then talking about manipulation, you are not going to do any changes, any inputs or outputs. Appium will not worry about it. It has outsourced to here. And yeah, so this is the architecture in summary. And some concepts in Appium, just for your reference. It is a client-server architecture. It is a web server that receives connections from client, listens for commands, executes those commands on a mobile device, and responds with HTTP response, representing the results of the command execution. So like if you can see the communication is over HTTP. So this guy will tell what he wants to do, and this guy will get it done using these tools to your Android device. Just a reminder that I will not be talking about the iOS automation here, but there is a component for that. I haven't really studied it, but if anybody who's interested can further go and study about it. Appium supports that as well. And a session. So Appium maintains a session in one communication line. In order to talk to a particular device, it will maintain a session. So it's session oriented. And there's something called desired capabilities. Desired capabilities are a set of keys and values sent to Appium server to tell the server what kind of automation sessions we are interested in starting up. So we have to tell it initially what kind of automation, what is the device name, and what kind of platforms are you talking about, what's your mobile package. So those kinds of application package, those things you will have to tell the server. So and then Appium server, yeah, so like I told you, it's a server written in Node.js. It can be built and installed from source or installed directly. So what I've done is I've installed it directly. It comes as a bundle. So I haven't gone into the level of manipulating Appium, but the developers, anybody who's interested, it will be good. And then Appium clients. There are client libraries in Java, Ruby, etc. in C# which support Appium's extensions to the WebDriver protocol. So for instance, if I'm using C#, so that you will see there's a reference for Appium.NET driver, which is a library where we can retrieve all the necessities we need in order to manipulate with the Visual Studio and C#. Yeah, so I'm going to do a quick demonstration on first of all, guys, if you're hoping to use Appium as your test automation tool, you will first have to install it, obviously. So installing it is pretty straightforward. Just download it and install it. And so I'll show you. This is the tool really. So there's nothing magical about it. It's just that there are some configurations that need to be done. And this is basically, so if you talk about the settings, configurations, so you can set the application path, the APK, where your APK file is located in your machine, that is the client machine, and package is not necessarily important. And then also the device name. At the moment I'm going to demonstrate using my phone, which is connected to my machine downstairs. So the device name is menu. And the SDK path, where the Android SDK is installed, it's somewhere in C. So that's the path to the SDK, and those are some of the information. And then yeah, so that's about it. And there is something called an inspector window that is in Appium, which actually identifies the UI controls. So at the moment we can't see any. Okay, before that let me go to so I'm using a tool called Visor, which will be this is actually my phone. So whatever I do, the test scripts I run from Visual Studio, you will be able to see it in my phone. So that's it about Appium. And then yeah, so so when you want to write your test scripts, initially you will have to write a normal unit testing framework, simple as that. So you will open up a new unit testing project, unit test, and then after that you will have to import some of the packages. If I show you. So Appium WebDriver, you only have to install this, and then bundled with it all these Selenium WebDriver supporting and Selenium WebDriver. These packages will also be installed bundled with it, so you don't have to worry about it. And then it will also add the references over here as well. The library I spoke to you about is actually it was also downloaded when I imported the Appium WebDriver. So that's the Appium .NET driver. And that's about that. And then up to now, any questions? No? Okay. And so next, I think we should. So what I've written is few test scripts really to do some basic functions. What we have researched so far is only how we can access using simple unit test methods, how we can access the mobile. It could be a physical mobile device like this, or it could be an emulator Well, I tried with the Visual Studio emulator for Android as well as the Android emulator. None of them were really responsive enough. They were very slow, and some of them didn't have enough RAM to carry to our mobile app. It crashes, so I can't really go on with my test execution. So because of that, I had to use our own devices. It's actually good. You can see the responsiveness and everything with an actual device. And yeah, so before that, like I told you all earlier, there are using the command prompt, using actually some tools like using shell commands and all that, you can retrieve the package name. Now, for instance, I'm using the Bonafide app for to test to show you guys. So if you have the APK of any mobile app, you can use it in this reference. So in this case, I've used the Bonafide APK. So using that, you can retrieve the package name and all the details relating to that APK. So yeah. So before that, so this UI Automator Viewer, this is the one that if you can remember, I told you all that that Appium has not reinvented the wheel, and it uses an external component called the UI Automator Viewer. This comes with the Android SDK. So I'm not sure if you guys use it. The developers must be using it. So this is using this tool. It's easy to identify the UI components really. And I don't know why for Bonafide it doesn't reveal the resource ID for the elements, but for all the others like even Facebook or YouTube or whatever the other applications, it revealed the ID, but I didn't have the APK, so I cannot show you guys. So yeah, so I'll be at the moment using this UI Automator Viewer, Appium identifies the UI controls. Simple as that. And yeah, so as you can see, I've written two test methods here, which I've already coded before because we won't be having a lot of time. And like I told you before, the desired capabilities, why we use the desired capabilities, we can, I told you it's a key value kind of setup. So if you you have to set the device name. So if you want to set the platform or any kind of details related to your mobile app, you will have to use this. And my device name is menu, and the app package is this one, which you can really retrieve. And yeah, so what this test case will do is ideally it'll talk to my device via Appium. It'll talk. Now you will see I don't have the mobile application solution opened up here. I don't have to compile it or build it. So it's already bundled up in the APK. Using it, I can run my test cases on my device or any emulator that I want. So let me run it and show you all. So it launched the Bonafide app, and but using Visa it's a bit slow it must have already opened up, but with Visa it's a bit slow to see all the components. There are supposed to be few text boxes coming here. It will eventually come. So until that, let us go to the Visual Studio, and you can see that my test test method has been passed. So these are normal test methods that the QA people, you all know, we write for coded UI tests as well, and for the developers you write for unit tests as well. So these are normal test methods that you can use to run on your mobile app. So extending this, we can do something like maybe identify a control. Yeah, here goes. So this is the UI that's eventually coming, and so this is just a matter of writing the company ID and all that. Oops. Sorry about that. Yeah, so what we will do next is we will launch the application and we will try to identify a UI control. For instance, maybe a button or a text box. So it's actually interactive. If you want to send keys, if you want to send data into your device, so you can do so. And so what we have done, like I told you all, we have set the capabilities like in the key value pairs, and also like after launching the application, after launching the mobile application, it takes a bit of time to view the controls. So because of that, I put a thread.sleep here, but actually the correct way is there are other methods like wait for control enable or something like that, which are already used in coded UI. So those things you can use in this context. In this case, I've done a sleep. So let's so if you can see now, after each session completes, there's a cleaning up of Android objects and Appium session. So one communication will be one session. It maintains a session with one of the test methods really. So after a while, if there's no response coming, they would just close it, shut it down. But the server will not shut down. So until then, you cannot reinitiate another session. That's a limitation here. And this is accessed by HTTP. So it could get, it's actually good to have to maintain sessions like that. And now we have the next test method as well, which will run. So it launches the mobile app. And it will wait until my control is enabled and it will try to click on it. And if you can see, my test method passed. I haven't put an assertion here, but even without an assertion, if I put an assertion here to make sure some control is enabled, just like we do for coded UI, we wait for a control to be enabled, or maybe an error message to not come. If it comes and the error message, then the test method fails. So you can do so many things. I mean, it's very flexible, just like you use write coded UI tests. That's why I chose it, because it's what we have been doing is easier for us. Yeah, so that's all that in summary. And these are some of the references I've got. This Execute Automation, it's actually a test automation company, and they have done research on so many technologies like Robotium, Appium, Selenium. So these guys are really good at, and they have been really helpful for me, the tutorials. And also TestDroid, it's actually a product, but they have their own resources as well. Yeah, so if you want, you can access these resources. Thank you very much, everyone.